Hi, welcome to another episode of Just Living Designs, my knitting podcast. This is podcast number 4. Today is November 2nd, and it is about a little after 9 o'clock in the morning. It's a Thursday, and I hail from Billings, Montana. So November 2nd, we already had Halloween. It's always a bummer when it happens during the week, but that was 2 days ago. The kids had fun. They went trick-or-treating. My daughter had a friend come over and they went out, and my son met up with another friend in the neighborhood. So they were off by themselves, and my husband and I stayed home and handed out candy, locked away 2 of the crazy dogs. I don't know if you guys have dogs that go nuts when the doorbell rings. We have 2 of them, 2 out of 3 go nuts when the doorbell rings. So 2 of them were locked away in the office, and then the other one, Ash, our husky, she's cool and chill and old and whatever. She got to greet people at the door with me because she doesn't try to run out and she doesn't try to get attention. But she gets a lot of attention because people are like, oh, husky. Last year she actually got to go trick-or-treating because my daughter dressed up last year as Little Red Riding Hood, and so she took Ash with her as her wolf/grandma. So we'll get into this. I am Just Living Designs, Shannon. You can find me on Ravelry as Just Living or Just Living Designs or Shannon Larson. That's a way to find all my projects. I will have my Ravelry pattern page linked down below. I have my Instagram is Just Living Designs. That'll be, listed down below. I have my Goodreads down below. What else? Oh, I also sell patterns on both Lovecrafts and Payhip. I will have that. I have my link tree linked down below as well, and that's another way you can get to those. Let's see, what else is there? I think that's about everything for the regular hoopla in the beginning. So I guess first I'm going to talk about what I'm wearing, and then I have a new pattern release coming out, so I'll talk about that. First off, I am wearing one of my designs as a hat. It's a little chilly out today. It might get warmer, but it also might rain. It's very overcast. So I'm wearing a hat this morning because I'm a little chilly. And this is, let's see, there we go, you can see it. This is my Toasted Mallow hat, knit out of Two Sisters Yarn Co. They're DK based. They're mostly known for their self-striping yarn, but they do, years and years ago I got this skein at a local Fiber Fest that no longer happens, which is a bummer, but COVID kind of took it out and then it never came back. So I found this at a local Fiber Fest from them, and they are local to Billings dyer, so it's kind of always fun to have the local Billings dyers. There's not that many of them. There's lots of local Montana dyers, but not as many Billings, Montana dyers. And so this hat came out a couple years back, maybe 3. I don't even remember. I love this hat. It is so comfortable and wearable. It's not too tight. I get headaches when things are tight on my head, and this one's nice and loose. There's enough interest in knitting. It's just a knit pearl texture with a double fold brim. Like I said, this is a DK weight hat. I made another one for my daughter that was a fingering held with mohair to equal DK, so you could do both. I'll have the pattern link below. And then I'm wearing, for a sweater, I am wearing a Love Note by Tin Can Knits. This is, what did it come out? 3 or 4 years ago, I think. It was, it's still a very popular pattern. People love to make it. Tin Can Knits patterns in general are they're excellent patterns. You get your money's worth, and they really have a lot of good tutorials and other things. So this one has some lace work in the yoke, and then it's just kind of a nice flowy sweater. I knit this one out of Farmer's Daughter's Fibers, Squish Fingering and Mighty Mo, both in the colorways Paul Newman. I love this colorway. It is like a gray brown, I'd say, which I love gray and I love brown, so it is very much a happy color for me. And it's nice and tonal. I I think I had the 2 fingering weight skeins in my stash forever, and then I had one of the mohairs, and then I bought another one later on, so they weren't quite the same, and I just kind of alternated skeins, and it worked out just fine. I did alter, like I alter all my patterns. I made, this pattern's meant to have like more of a 3/4 length sleeves that kind of puff out. I did more of a tapered sleeve and made them long, and then it's supposed to be a little bit more cropped. I knit mine longer, and it has a high-low hem with short rows. But yeah, I love it. It's very warm and cozy. I usually wear this one I usually wear a t-shirt under it just because it really shows off that lace detail better. And then just having like a tank top or something where you could see my bare skin, and it's a little warmer with the t-shirt under it because of the big holes of the lace. What else about this one? I think that's everything. And then of course I'm wearing hand knit socks. Always. All right, let's go to my new pattern release. I plan to have this coming out tomorrow, Friday, November 3rd, hopefully. And this podcast should come out on that same day. So here's hoping. Anyways, this is, like I said, my new design. It is called Woolen Socks. And it is a top-down sock with a heel flap and gusset, but the turn is a square turn. Pull one of these off the blockers. So it doesn't give quite, it gives a deep heel because the turn is like bigger than a triangle turn, but it doesn't give as much of a gusset decrease. But here's that square heel. This is the first time I put one in a pattern design. I've knit them before, I've just never actually used it in my pattern design. And then it has, like I said, you can see kind of the gusset line. It doesn't go as deep as a traditional triangle type turn would go. So yeah, these are knit top down. There's 8 sizes. It is, I intended this, when I saw the yarn, I really loved it. And I intended to make it look like kind of a fun take of a boot sock or a hiking sock. So that's why I have some sporty stripes at the top and that little peak of a stripe before the toe. And this is knit with Woolberry Fiber Co. in their berry sock. And this is colorway is called Woolen. And then the red is one of theirs as well, called Flannel. And then the white is just a BFL nylon 80/20 blend of undyed that I had in my stash. And I love them. I am, like I said, I love brown. I love that this is a non-traditional like color for a boot sock, but then the top is very traditional. Some of my testers made some gorgeous ones, and you'll see it when it comes out. If you go to the pattern page, you'll see them on Ravelry. But yeah, it's a very lovely, very simple knit pearl texture on it, just to give it some interest, and it helps suck it in just a little bit with that knit pearl texture, more than a stockinette sock. And it's not like constantly a texture, so you have a lot of rest, you have rest rows in there before you do a texture row. Yeah, so that should come out. I always do a coupon code with my pattern releases for 15% off. I have not made up that coupon code yet, so I will put it in down below with the link to the pattern, what the coupon code is. It's usually only good for a week. I will put the time that it's good for, and then the code, and you can type that in on Ravelry. And the code will work on PayHip as well. I can't do codes on Lovecrafts because they don't do coupon codes, so I would have to manually change it every time I did a coupon or a discount, and I just don't do it. So if you want to not use Ravelry, you can get it on PayHip with that code as well. And this is the very same code I will use. Quick, I am using a mug by, this is Remembrances Pottery. She does hand-built mugs, so they are not like a turned on a wheel. They're slab built, and they're lovely. This is the, sweaters on a line one. She doesn't make a lot of mugs, but when she does, they kind of sell out pretty quickly, but I will link her below. I'm having more coffee. This was a second pot type of day, so this is the first cup from the second pot. Okay. Let's see. The other thing coming up is I am teaching at my LYS, the Yarn Bar. I'm going to be teaching a brioche for beginners hat. We use the Harlow hat by Andrea Mowry, Harlow worsted, so it goes a little bit better. Her first Harlow is fingering weight, and this one's fingering to sport, and this one's a worsted weight. Because she designed it with Spin Cycles Dream State, and then maybe Shelter or something like that. But any worsted weight will work. It will be taught November 11th and 18th here in town at the shop, and you'll learn how to do brioche, and then you also will learn how to do some decreases. So it's a little bit more than a beginner in my mind, just because you have to learn the decreases. But by the time you get up to the crown with the brioche, hopefully you're got a good sense of how to brioche, do the brioche stitch. So, and if, you know, this is one of those where you can turn it inside out. This one was knit a couple years back with Blue Sky Fibers, their wool stock, 2 skeins. They have 50 ball skeins, and I don't think you even use 50 grams of each color. I think I had a little bit left over, so it's nice. It's nice and squishy and warm. All right, I will talk about FOs, finished objects. I only have one, and I don't have it to show you because it was my husband's Halloween socks. I finished a few days before Halloween, and then he wore them on Halloween, so they're dirty. I was gonna like save them for the podcast, but then I was like, no, I make them for him to have by Halloween. So I was like, yeah, I will, if I am savvy enough here with editing. I don't edit a lot on these podcasts, but if I'm savvy enough, I will try to put a picture up here somewhere while I'm talking about them. So I knit them with my trusty top-down sock design. It is one of my patterns that has 9 sizes, and it's a heel flap and gusset with the triangle heel turn. It is just a straight, like I don't include any sort of texture or anything, and it's just stockinette, but you can change it as you want. And I changed it to be a 1x1 rib instead of a 2x2 that I have written in the pattern for the cuff. And then I did a 3x1 rib on the leg and the foot, because my family, if you've been here before, all like to have ribbed socks of some sort because they like them to suck in better. I used, for the very cuff, I used Yarnaceous Fibers in her Salta Fingering in La Brea Tar Pit. It's a nice charcoaly black. And then for the rest of the sock, I used Hue Loco Hocus Pocus 2 collection in the colorway Thackeray Beaks, which I had bought last year, and then she re-released that collection this year, and it's probably already done, but so it's a really lovely colorway. I loved how it like did the micro striping with the black and the color, and it was very, very pretty. And I was kind of jealous that I let him have those socks, but it was very much a color that he would enjoy. Yeah, so that's my finished object, is a pair of socks for my husband. And I had gotten everybody's Halloween socks done before Halloween, so that was great. Now I'm on to knitting some fall/Thanksgiving socks. Hopefully I'll get them all done. If not, oh well. And then I've already started the Christmas socks, because in July I do some Christmas in July knitting. So I did a few pairs in July, and I think I only have my son's socks left that I have to knit, but I'll probably make some more Christmas socks too. All right, so on to whips. This is my new sock cast on for my son. I actually have a little bit more than this. So I have a hoe, and then I got the other one because I think I finished that first sock on Halloween morning, and then I cast on the next one yesterday. So I got the toe and just started, because these are knit toe up. This is from Rosehill Yarns. It is one of her 50-gram sock sets. So it's a 50-gram skein of the main color and a 20-gram mini that comes with it. And they work really well for like, for my son's socks because he has smaller feet, and for like mine and my daughter's, but I need more yarn than this to make my husband a pair of socks. So I can't use these for like a man-sized foot. But for like, I wear a women's 8.5, and my daughter is 8 to 8.5. So we have the same size sock. So I can get enough out of a 50-gram for both of us. And then, so this was the colorway called Hot Chocolate Picnic. And I just really love it. That burnt orange, and then all these like browns and reds and blues. It's just, it's lovely. So yeah, I knit this with my Shadow Wrap Heels socks 2 ways, knit toe up. The reason I did these ones toe up, I go back and forth between top down and toe up. The reason I did these ones toe up is because I was dealing with a 50-gram main and a 20-gram mini, and I wanted to get as much height as I could, or at least to the point where my son likes his socks. And to get that easier, it's easier to do toe up. So what you do is you weigh your yarn before you start knitting. So I weighed both the mini and the main color, took note of that, and knit up. And when I was getting close to like, not quite as tall as I wanted, I waited again to see how much yarn I could play with. And I had plenty. And so I just kept going up to the length that I made his last pair of socks. And then I did the same thing with the mini. So I would make sure that I wouldn't run out of the mini by the time I knit the second sock. So I have more than half left over before I started the second pair, or the second sock for this. So it's a good way to get the most out of your yarn if you want to use up everything, or if you're dealing with like, a certain amount of yarn, it's a good way. And this one, of course, I did a 3x1 rib as well, and then a 1x1 at the top, because again, my family likes ribbed socks. And yeah, this bag is one of the Madder Root bags. I think I showed like a bigger version of this bag a couple episodes back, but it's one of their, this is like the sock size of their trundle bag. And and this one actually has wax canvas and then wool. So it's nice. And then you just roll it and hook it, and it carries and stays shut. I don't remember if I got this one 1 or 2 years ago, and it has like, it was shortly after they came out with this style, and it has a lovely bee fabric in the inside of this one. And I love mustards, I love browns, I love grays. So that was right in my wheelhouse for colors. All right, my other whip that I've been working on, other than designs, I do have more designs that I've been putting a lot of effort into, is my home cardigan by Kadri. I have, let's see. There we go. There's my marker. And I don't think I mentioned this last time, but these are my favorite. Charm Keeper is from Charmed and Dangerous. She makes little polymer clay charms, and this one's Princess Leia. Anyway, so I was there on the first sleeve, and so I finished the first sleeve, and then I knit the second sleeve. And all I have left to do is pick up the button band and knit around. This is knit with, grab a tag, Wool Dreamers, Machalope, and it is that unspun yarn in the plates. Last time I talked, I said I might be able to get the sweater done with 3 plates, but this is all I have left of my 3rd plate. So I will be breaking into the 4th for the button band, I'm sure, because that's not a lot, and there's a lot of stitches to do on the button band. In my project page, I will have my modifications for this pattern. For the most part, my gauge was a little bit off. So I knit the size 2 instead of the size 3. I would normally knit the size 3 for my preferred ease for this. But I knit the size 2 just because I was going to get, my stitches were just a little bit bigger. And I did go down at least 1, maybe 2 needle sizes. I'm not sure. I'm a looser knitter, so I usually almost always go down. And it's not the yarn it's called for in the pattern. Let's see if I can put this on over a mohair sweater. It's kind of grabby, so we'll see. If you put it on, we'll see if I can get it back off. So yeah, it's a lovely, you know, I added length to the sleeves because I have long arms and I like my sleeves to come down, you know, into over my hand a bit. And then I added length to the body because I believe this sweater is a bit more like meant to be a little more cropped, and I'm not a fan of the crop. So I added some more length. And once I get it done, there should be, you know, the button band will go all the way around, and there is a V. It's harder to see because it rolls in on itself because of the stockinette, but yeah, there's a V. And there should be, I think, 4 buttons that I need to add. So I'll have to, usually once I knit the sweater all the way, I'll go to one of the, either like Joann's or even my yarn shop. Sometimes they have some decent buttons, and I haven't tried the other fabric shops in town for buttons yet, but, and find some buttons. I usually just take my sweater with me when I'm looking for buttons, just to ensure, even though it says like on the design, it usually says what size to get, but I just like to make sure it goes in nice and not too tight and not too loose. I'm thinking like some wooden buttons or something like that for this sweater. So I'm really looking forward to finishing that. Once I get it done, I have some sweaters that I need to start for my kids. I need to finish some sweaters for my husband. But my daughter's been wanting another sweater with mohair in it. And I have some yarn set aside to make her a Sunday sweater from Petite Knit. And then my son loves video games, so I have the Atari sweater pattern from Tennis Labelli, Tennis Fiber Arts. And yeah, so I'm going to make him an Atari sweater. Okay. Well, I think that's all for the knitting. I do have a little bit of a couple of yarny acquisitions that I will show. Then I'll do reading and watching and a little bit of life stuff. So acquisitions. So after the Rhinebeck weekend and the Woolen Folk disaster, I didn't know about that when I first ordered this yarn, but one of my favorite self-striping yarn dyers was going to be vending at Woolen Folk, and like Friday, it might even have been Friday night, she said that she would add her leftovers to her shop, and I don't know if she was doing that right away on Saturday or if it was like by Monday or something. I can't remember. But so she put her leftovers in the shop, and so I went and to her shop before I like heard about the whole fiasco of Woolen Folk. But these are from Woolens and Nosh. I got some of her more fall colorways, so they'll probably go into stash till next year. But this is her fancy schmancy pumpkins look-alike. So it's like her original one had gradiating stripes, like the tonal stripes gradiating into each other. This one's kind of more mixed up. It's just a really lovely, like there's browns and corals and greens, and there's a white in there. And both of these are on her superwash Targhee base, which is 90% superwash Targhee and 10% nylon. I love this base. It is cushy and plump and warmer than any of my other fingering weight sock yarns that are superwash. My non-superwash ones are a bit warmer just because that's the nature of non-superwash wool, but these are lovely. They feel more rustic too. They feel more like they're a non-superwash, but they're just lovely. And then this one is the colorway Deep Fall. And, you know, I've told you guys before how I feel about my browns and all my earth tones colors, and this just screamed yes to me. It also is very much a more traditionally masculine leaning color, I would say, just because of the deeper, darker tones. So if I wanted to, I could probably knit it for any of those members of my family that are more masculine in their color preferences. you know, this is totally up my color out. I mean, I like this, but I don't, you know, that's not me. That's more like my daughter or maybe one of my nieces would like that a little bit more. This one I love. Anyways, yeah, so, and then I also got my Wednesday Yarn Club for November from Freckled Whimsy. This shipped out at the end of October. I got it before November 1st. I think I got it on the 30th, actually, of October. So if you haven't received yours yet, look away. But I'm going to show it just for a quick little bit and talk about it. All right, here I'm showing it. Look away. So this is the November color called Black Dahlia. It is very much in my daughter's wheelhouse for colors, so they will probably be socks for her. Again, it's one of her, she does a 8-stripe repeat. And yeah, this, I get this on her Splendid base, which is an 85-15 superwash merino and nylon. So it's just a little plumper than a 75-25. I don't see a problem of them lasting. I'm not hard on my socks, but my, you know, some of my family members, like my husband and my daughter, are a lot harder on their socks than I am. So they might wear through them eventually, but since they still have 15% nylon, they should be all right. All right, that's away. If you were looking away, sorry, I kicked the camera. It's away now. Yeah, so you know, I love self-striping yarn. You guys can see that almost every episode there's more self-striping coming in. It's just fun to knit. And actually I have a new design that I'm working on that's using self-striping yarn. So that's fun. All right. So reading and watching. Reading, I finished Fourth Wing by Rebecca Yarros. The last podcast, I think I said, you know, I only had like 40 pages or so. So it was like, I finished it the next day, probably. It was very, very good. I gave it 5 stars on Goodreads, and that means I would definitely read it again type situation. Everybody that's been raving about it, there's a reason. It's really good. I can't wait for the next book to come out. I did not pre-order it, so I might not get it right away. I will probably go down to my downtown local bookshop that I like to go to, and because that's where I got the first one. I got it on the second run, the Fourth Wing, but I hope to get down there like the day that it comes out and see if I can snag a copy right away. We shall see. But yeah, I think it comes out here in this next week, maybe. I don't know. I'll have to look it up so I don't miss it. But very good. Very, very good. Dragons, fighting. It's good. I finished also my Audible book, The Girl from Widow Hills, from Miranda. That I gave 4 stars. I probably would have given it like 3.75 if that was an option. It's not. It was better than a 3. Not quite up to a 4 standard, but that's just because it was kind of slow getting it. Like I wasn't really feeling it for so long. And then when it started to get more enticing, you know, towards the end there, I was listening to it just to listen to it. I wasn't just putting it on in the background while I was doing other things. I mean, I was listening to it while I was knitting, but usually I only listen to books when I'm cleaning or doing housework or something. So yeah, it turned out really good. I did not predict the ending, so that's always nice with those like thriller, murder, mystery type novels that I hate it when I predict the ending. So it was nice to not predict what was happening and actually be surprised. I started for my nighttime reading, since I finished the other one before Halloween and it was the spooky season, I was like, oh, I'll read a Stephen King novel. I bought this last year after it came out and it went on the shelf because I was into other series and different things that I was reading. So this is Fairy Tale by Stephen King. I haven't read a Stephen King novel since I was probably in my 20s. I read a ton in high school and I read them in my 20s, but I haven't really read them for a long time. This one it's just a good story. So far, I'm only like 60 pages in. Again, I only read at night. he is a good storyteller. If you haven't read a Stephen King novel, not all of them are like crazy, spooky, scary or anything. A lot of times they're just a little bit, some are quite, quite scary and some are not, but they're just good stories. So if you haven't read one, you should give them a try. And then I just started listening to Court of Silver Flames, which is the last book from the Sarah J. Maas Akhtar series. I think I listened to all those on Audible before I read the Throne of Glass series. And this last one hadn't come out yet. And so I got into a different series by her, and once this one came out, I didn't want to have them going at the same time. It would have just been a little confusing because they're different storylines, but they both have fae and different, so I just didn't want to do that to my brain. So I started listening to that one. That's a long book because she does long books. So on Audible, I think it's like 28 hours of listening time or something. I don't know. So it'll take me a while to get through it. Because again, I only generally listen to books when I'm cleaning. Like yesterday, I had to get out the ironing board and iron clothes for my kids. And so, which I'll talk about in my stuff here. But so I was ironing for a while. And so I got out I was listening to that while I was doing that and doing dishes and stuff like that. So yeah, that's what I'm reading so far. I'm just at the beginning of both of those because I just finished the other two. So, just starting 2 new books. Watching. We've watched some more Halloween type movies. We watched Beetlejuice, which I love. We're still watching the Goosebumps. The 4 of us are on Hulu, Disney Plus. I think we're like 4, 5 episodes in. We did not get it through it. We just don't have time where we're all together. My daughter has a lot of homework and she's like not home until, shortly before dinner anyways. And then has homework at night. So there's just not a lot of time. We can usually watch something all of us together on Saturdays. That's about it. And then my husband and I think we're 3 episodes into the 3rd season of The Witcher. We're not loving it as much as the other 2 seasons. It feels like it's written by somebody else. It just doesn't feel the same. And it still has Henry Cavill, which I love him as this character, but it just doesn't feel the same. So we don't gravitate towards it when we have time to watch together. We started watching the 3rd season of Only Murders in the Building, and we love that show, and it's great. And so we'll probably finish that one before we go back to The Witcher. I'm sure, but again, there's not a lot of time. At night, a lot of times I try to go upstairs shortly after the kids do to read before I go to sleep. And sometimes we'll watch something together too, and I'll skip reading just because there's not a lot of time we have together to do that stuff. And then I've been watching Welcome to Wrexham season 2. I watched the 1st season last year. That's the documentary series about Ryan Reynolds and Roy McElhenney's purchase of a football team in Wales, in Wrexham. It's interesting. I've learned, I knew a lot about soccer, but not a lot. I knew about soccer because my son plays soccer, so I know some stuff, and I've seen matches and stuff, professional and European and stuff, but I didn't realize all the different tiers of the league system in England area and all that stuff. So that was kind of interesting. And then just learning about the town and the history of the town. And this season, they also talked about the women's team. That's of course not nearly as funded or anything as the men's team, even before the Hollywood guys swooped in for it. So it's interesting. All right. Life stuff. Basically, last week it snowed and got really cold. There's still snow on the ground outside in some areas where the sun hasn't reached. But yeah, it was we were lucky if we got into the 20s many days. And I think there's a lot of areas in the country because we're more western than a lot of other, we're not quite in the middle of the country. We're a little bit more to the west. So that cold kind of went through because the week prior to that, we were in the 80s. And then it was a 60-degree difference between highs was a massive shift in less than a week. But yeah, we had snow, had our first snow, got very cold. And so a lot of the outdoor Halloween type activities that would have happened last weekend didn't happen because it's just too cold for people to be outside for that long and to be running those things. So we didn't end up doing any, fun Halloween things. We didn't even make it to the theater downtown, the older theater, to watch Hocus Pocus. I mean, we'd already watched it at home, but we were thinking about doing that and it just didn't fit in our schedule. We did make cookies on Sunday, Halloween sugar cookies, and carved pumpkins. Got those done because I don't like to carve them too early. I don't understand people that carve them like a week or two before Halloween because they get all like smushy faced before Halloween. So we usually carve them like a day or two before Halloween. And then we didn't even put them outside. We just put them in the garage after they were carved so they didn't freeze because it was, freezing at night. And I didn't want them to freeze too much and get all smushy faced when they would thaw out in the day. Because now we've been getting back up into the 50s for our highs. We might even get low 60s here in the next day or two. But, it still gets cold at night. We haven't been freezing as much now, but over Halloween we were. At least it was a little warmer for the kids at Halloween for trick-or-treating. I've been to the mall twice. I don't like to shop, and I don't like to go to the mall, but I've been to the mall twice in the past couple weeks. I took the kids there and one of their friends before, like a week and a half ago or so, to go and get Halloween costumes because our Spirit Halloween shop was in the mall. And then we went last weekend because my kids had some stuff that they needed some fancier clothes for. We are not fancy clothes people. My daughter is in speech and debate, and for those tournaments she needs to wear professional dress attire. So we needed to go get some dress slacks and a nice skirt and blouses and stuff like that. We still need to go find some shoes that'll work for her. She wants to wear heels. She's not really ever worn heels, and I'm trying to explain to her that all day in a pair of heels when you're not used to them might be a bit much, but she'll learn. And then my son has his first orchestra concert tonight, actually, and we needed to get him a pair of black dress trousers and white button-up shirt, black dress shoes. And so we, just had to do all that stuff. So that's what I was ironing yesterday when I started my new Audible book, because I had all those clothes. We washed them over the weekend, and then I had all these clothes to iron because I figured if I was getting the board out, I might as well iron everything that needed to be ironed, and then my daughter could just hang her stuff up in the closet until she needed it. But my son, needs it tonight. So, so yeah, we'll be going to his first orchestra concert. It is his very first concert like this. He was in just regular music before for elementary school. They don't start, in our district, they don't start doing like orchestra or band or proper choir until 6th grade. And you could only be in one of those three things. So he decided to do orchestra, and he's playing the viola. And so we have listened to a lot of viola. And he's getting better since the beginning of the year, which is good, and, it's not killing our ears. So that's all I can say about that. He will just keep getting better and better. That's the thing with practicing and learning an instrument. He understands the music just fine, like reading the notes and everything. And he has to read tenor clef. I never read tenor clef. I read treble and bass clef with the instruments I played and with chorus. So it's interesting. And then my daughter, will start doing away tournaments for debate, speech and debate. I was in debate in high school. It takes a lot of time. It's a lot of time out of your life, but it's fun. So I hope she'll have fun doing that. Yeah, like I said, I'm teaching a class here in November. I will be teaching a sock class. I think it's in January. I have it written down in my calendar. At the yarn bar as well, a beginner like DK sock class with my shadow wrap DK sock. So that is a couple classes that I have coming up. Other than that, I'm just trying to get some of my designs done. I need to edit a video for one of my patterns. Actually, my husband needs to edit that video because I will edit the podcast because I don't do a lot of editing. but my videos need a little bit more professional take to them, and he is better at the computery stuff in general. So when I try to put that picture in of his pair of socks, if I can't do it, I'll ask him for some help. But yeah, so that's like, he always edits all my tutorial videos for me, which I love. I'm grateful for. But it just means that I have to wait for him to have time to do that before I can get even out to testers, because I like those tutorials to be in my patterns for my testers so they can refer to them as well. And then once I get that out to testers, it would hopefully come out here in December. We shall see. And then I got another pattern that I just need to get edited and then out to testers, and then another one that I just need to finish writing up and knitting. So yeah, I've got some patterns coming down the pipe. New one today, or hopefully today when you see this, the woolen sock. And yeah, I'm just doing my thing. I will have links to everybody that I talked about, all the yarns and patterns and stuff like that down below. So hopefully it'll make it easier for you to find things. My whips, I'll have links to the actual like Ravelry project pages. And from there you can get like the yarn information and stuff. I usually try to link the yarn dyers and stuff like that, and all that jazz. But yeah, I hope you guys have a good 2 weeks. Thanks for watching. Thanks for sticking around to the end if you did. Please like and subscribe if you enjoyed this podcast. And I hope to see you again in 2 weeks. All right. Bye, guys.